I'm gonna keep shooting this. This is exactly what happened to me yesterday when I was shooting a video. I had gone to a location where I had access to, you know, the Ethernet type of internet where the connection would be solid and I could upload a longer video to explain a lot of the details about what I have experienced in the sex trafficking ring related to Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Windsor. Except that, you know, when I was uploading it, I had to do it through my cell phone because the connection that I went to at my family member's house was down suspiciously. You know, the password has changed and we can't get into it. So there's been a lot of interference, and I don't want to go into all the details of it because it might sound like excuses to people who are skeptical of me as an actual victim. I was in the middle of just trying to get out the basic facts as quickly as possible. A moment ago, I labeled that video Part 1, September 11th, 2019. This one I'll label September 11th, 2019, Part 2. I am shooken up. I'm an emotional wreck. It's because of what I have been put through and what I am still subjected to. I don't know if I mentioned this in the Part 1, but I spoke to a New York Post reporter, Joe Galvin. I called the New York Post, the website where their phone number can be found for anybody who wants to call them and ask them what the deal is and why certain victims are not being represented, is Storyful, S-T-R. I'm sorry, hold on, S-T-O-R-Y-F-U-L, Storyful, and there's a phone number there for their New York office, all their different offices across the country. They're related to Google and the rest of the corporate interests that are trying to keep real information out of the public realm. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and you know, received a lot of scrutiny over it, and I can't really concern myself too much with what people think about my appearance, whether they believe me or not. I know I'm telling the truth. I called this morning to the New York office of the Storyful, who produces the New York Post articles, just to verify whether or not Joe Galvin from Ireland is one of their reporters, because when I spoke to him, I have all this videotape, so I can also release that as evidence, you know, for real people like me who are trying to get to the truth. I am a real victim of the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking ring, and it didn't end with him or begin with him. Sam Kuba, who is a Saudi national, I believe, that's at least what I think he had told me. He ran for Congress of Virginia in 2014. He was in the movie Fahrenheit 9/11, making money off of the buildup of Iraq after the Iraqi war. He's the first person that raped me as a college student. That was before I answered the Deborah Palfrey ad. The reason that I have been raped so many times is because I am also a victim of child pedophiles, and that's how that happens repeatedly, and that's why it's taken me so long to realize what actually happened to me. I still don't have all my memory intact from my early years. I made the videos yesterday. They were 2 hours long, tried to upload them, and anytime anybody calls me, which is what happened yesterday, I received phone calls from unknown New York number and it interrupted the upload. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And it may seem a little erratic to some. It's not. It's these are real circumstances that I'm having to fight through in order to at least get the truth out to people. If there's not going to be justice, then at least the truth will be told. Even if, you know, they have so much power, and the people that I've been trafficked to are powerful people, are in the White House. I haven't seen Trump myself. I know a lot of people were hoping that I could implicate him, but I can't. He seems to be into blonde-haired women, and I'm not a blonde-haired woman. The other people that I mentioned in the White House, they are. That's real. I'm not sure if I should mention it. I'd like to. I just am very shooken up, you know. I've been trying to get help for a very, very long time. The first time was in 2003. I may have mentioned that. I have done so many videos, and I've talked so much. I forget what I've said already, and so I guess this is another part of their tactic to keep real victims suppressed and silenced. I really am doing my best to get out everything that I can. I had made that video, and I really wanted to upload it. It went on for a very long time. It's very hard for me to try and keep focused and not go off just because of the emotional trauma that it surfaces when I begin to talk about the things. And so I just wanted to make this as quickly as possible. I may have cut myself off with what I was trying to relay about Joe Gavin, is that I have recorded the conversation. He stated that I am a real victim and that my story matches up with other victims. He referred me to the attorney Edward in Florida. Suspiciously to me, it seems suspicious to me that every time I contact these attorneys that claim they're representing victims, they don't return calls. They go like Joe Galvin, you know, had an emergency, told me that he wanted to get me in touch with his editor, and then, you know, I don't hear back from them, and that's a reoccurring pattern. I don't know, you know, if it's all just to, you know, subject me to more and more, you know, forms of torture beyond just the sex trafficking that I've had to endure for so long. The things that me and my family, my daughter, have gone through are horrific. And I guess this is good enough for today. At least I will, you know, let people know that I'm real, that I really am trying to get representation, to have my day in court if it's possible. I know that in 2005, I went to Gloria Allred because I was raped by the owner of a rehab that I was sent to by an attorney, Sam Perkins, in Washington, D.C., who is a person who trafficked me, and was raped by the owner of the South Coast Recovery, Dennis Larkin. I went to Gloria Allred, and she refused to help. So when she's representing victims nowadays, I don't trust her. I've called Kaplan, Heckler, and Fink. They told me the next thing in the process would be to set up a 6-hour interview, either by Skype or to go to their office, and they mysteriously can't seem to return calls, can't seem to find the time to get in touch with me. And so Joe Galvin, you know, it's really hard for me knowing that they're not, you know, I may be impatient. I I may find these matters a lot more important than other people do, and especially, I guess, the people, you know, who may be making money off of them, making money off of these stories. Real victims are suffering. There's other victims out there, I know. There's got to be a lot of other victims that aren't being represented. I get stuck because I had a lot of things that I wanted to say, and things that I keep hearing in the media that match up with my experience. Places that I've lived: New Mexico, Los Angeles, you know, Sam Perkins, the attorney, took me to his vacation home in Cape May, and I can't remember a thing about it. Actually, that's not exactly true. I can remember very vague details, but the rest of it is absent, and that is very frustrating to realize. Yeah, I remember making the arrangements to go there. I remember an intersection of the town. I remember a very quaint little breakfast inn that we went to, where I had eggs Benedict for the first time. But the rest of the trip there with him, I have no recollection of. And so I guess I can just leave this at that for today. I've done my best to really try to divulge a lot of the other information that I have. The thing that is really bad, and that is puts me at a big disadvantage, is that the people, you know, who are my perpetrators, they also hold the keys to all this evidence. I know that they're aware of every single individual that I've been trafficked to. You know, they give me false names. Joe Albrighton was one of the people who's a pedophile. Popped up out of nowhere. It's most like a very fake story. You know, to go from a town of 400 to a billionaire. In my experience, his name was Terry. He told me he was Greek, you know, so I'd assume that means he's from Greece. Their family's aware of what they did to my daughter at age 5. There's a lot of other information that I would really like to share, and I hope that I'll have the opportunity. I might just have to do it like this in a very candid fashion, just holding my cell phone and doing things this way, because it seems like the only way. You know, the 2-hour-long video probably wouldn't have gotten very many, you know, it's just that it would be hard for a lot of people to take that much time. Anyways, so I do appreciate all the people who've offered their prayers and support. That really is the only thing that's going to protect me. And the truth, you know, hopefully will come out eventually. With today being September 11th, I realize that there's a lot of us who have been victimized. And in a lot of different ways. And a lot of the truth that we need is being kept from us. And so that's what I had put in that video too, was the first person who raped me in front of both of my children, Sam Kuba, who I thought was a Saudi national. He's an architect. In the movie Fahrenheit 9/11, you know, he's never been held accountable. It wasn't until my daughter died that I was able to research and investigate, because of all of the inconsistencies I found in law enforcement and in the courts, and in the circumstances. And so that's what led me to look into the definitions of sex trafficking and abduction and coercion. And you know, they can paint it with a different brush if they want and call it something that it's not, but it's black and white. There are victims and there are perpetrators. And even if the victims are, you know, receiving cash bribes, you know, for being subjected to that type of crime, it doesn't change the facts, and nothing will. So the facts will always remain the facts. What I've been through, and the truth of everything I know and everything I don't know, will never change. And you know, even if it's only me and God who know it, and I have to take these things to my grave, I don't know. I have really tried hard to seek justice for a very, very, very long time. So, thank you, you know, for people who recognize the truth when they hear it. People who have well-intentioned hearts. I appreciate the kindness in the comments. There's been a lot of not so kind things said, and I appreciate the people who stood up for me. That was very refreshing to hear. And there were that people that good people would come to my defense as a victim, you know, even if these attorneys, they can't do it for whatever reason. So anyway, I should probably stop before, you know, I get called a crazy person, or, you know, taken to a insane asylum, you know, for my own protection, or whatever like new forms of torture that they victimization, you know. It's hard for me to know what's real and what's not in the news. I wonder about, you know, people like Tommy Robinson, if they're real people. I didn't look into his story much. I've been distracted with what I'm going through and trying to get to the bottom of it, trying to get justice. And if his story is true, I expect sort of the same, to be re-victimized and abused even further. That's one of the principles that I can trust in my lifetime, through my experience, is to expect more of what I have gotten. And it hasn't been fair, and it hasn't been just. And despite the many times that I have tried to escape their control, I found that they have a lot of different ways of keeping us, or me, you know, me, subjected and under their control. And so this is something new, speaking out in this way. I have spoken out before in Los Angeles in 2010. I kind of wonder whether or not I have anything to do with stirring up this trouble for these people. It makes sense to me. It may not make sense to others, you know, without the details. So I guess I'll just go ahead and stop. I'm really glad that I just decided, rather than, you know, trying to sit down and make a you know, as long a video as I could to get out as much as I was able. I'll just do this, and I guess I'll just keep doing that if I have to. I was hoping to have something a little bit better put together, and instead of it looking like a frantic plea for help, it sort of is, because of that what I'm going through in dealing with these people and them trying to silence victims of this sex trafficking ring. You know, I'm not claiming that the victims who are in the news aren't real victims. I really don't have a way of knowing, you know. I just know that I am a real victim. And I don't know what else to do. So that's why I've made these videos and tried to share what it was that I knew for certain, excuse me, was not true in the media. Excuse me again. Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Windsor. I was trafficked to both of them by Deborah Palfrey. A point I was wanting to make in one of the videos that I have already made but wasn't able to upload was that both Deborah Palfrey and Andrew Windsor both died under suspicious circumstances. In my daughter's death, there were two people, I'm sorry, it's Alexander Casis and Theodore Kleberod, who also died under similar circumstances. So if you could imagine being me and the amount of people I have, you know, associated with closely. Not closely, as in I know them, those two, but I'm talking about, you know, Jonathan Luna, Deborah Palfrey, Jeffrey Epstein, these type of things going on in people that are, you know, one person removed from me. It's a little nerve-wracking, and so if people find my behavior erratic or emotional, it's because this is emotional. This is extremely rough and tough to get through, and so I'll stop this here. And thank you to the good people out there, and I hope my condolences to the people, the victims of 9/11. I hope that we can all get the truth out somehow or another. I'm doing my part and everything that I can. If I did mention, I'm sure I mentioned it, it's September 11th, 2019. Okay, so if I have to do videos like this, I hope that people will understand. I was trying to do something a little bit better so that I could get more information out. But this is what it seems that it's come down to. All the attorneys are, you know, unavailable to speak. I do feel that it's possible that the information I've given out has been extracted in order to, I don't know. I really can't say. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense. So I'll keep trying to put it all together and get to the bottom of things.